Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Danaher. I'm an Assistant Attorney General with the New York State Attorney General's Office. It's a pleasure to be here at Cornell Cooperative Extension for our monthly Consumer Issues program. We go throughout the year talking about various consumer-related topics, and we invite anyone who's watching us out in TV land to come in and join us. Just to give you a little bit of a tease, we had a really interesting discussion about different utility issues shortly before we went on air that we're going to touch on some of those issues today, but it was a really good discussion that is very helpful to me and helpful to those that are present to discuss and flesh out. So we always encourage people to come down and join us for this program. We're here on the second Thursday of every month at Cornell Cooperative Extension at 11 a.m. So please come join us, find out through CCE's website. They can tell you what topic is coming up. You might find that topic interesting. If you have a question that's unrelated to our topic, for those of you to know that I'm here usually at 11 to do our program, but then I also am around for an hour or so after the program's over with so that you can bring topics into us that might be unrelated to the topic we're talking about today. And in fact, today's topic is how to be a wise consumer in the utility market. A lot of new things going on in the utility market field, so it's things that we should be knowledgeable about in going around to make our particular decision. Some people think, oh my gosh, this utility thing, it's so confusing to me. Actually, if you sit down and you think about it, the basics are not that confusing. You just have to take a little time to figure it out, and as we always do here at Cornell Cooperative Extension Consumer Issue Program, we advise people encourage people to be good consumers when it comes to this or any other consumer-related topic. There's a whole host of different things that I would lump into quote-unquote utilities. Gas, electric, heat, air condition our homes, as well as telephones, fuel oil. We're now getting into solar and wind. So there's a whole host of different areas that we can talk about when we're talking about the utility markets. First thing that we should talk about is what historically I would think of as utility, which is the gas, electric, how we power our homes and our lives. There are different options that are available out there. It's changed over the years. I've been coming out to Cornell Cooperative Extension for 21 years now. Doesn't seem that long, but 21 years, over 21 years. And a lot of these things that we talk about, we didn't really have to worry about back in 21 years ago, although it does seem like it was a short time ago. It used to be with our gas and electric, we would move into an apartment or we'd move into a house, and we'd call, in this case, NYSEG. You'd call NYSEG, and they would come and turn it on, and we would get our bill each month, and we didn't think anything of it because there was no options, and we just, whatever the bill was, we paid and moved on and complained about utility service and complained about our bills, but heck, it was nothing we could do about it, so we just pay it and grumble. Well, things have changed somewhat, especially over the last 10 years or less, and now we have the option to choose who our energy provider is. Now there's a little caveat. What do you mean by energy provider? The pipes and wires that get the energy to our house, that's the same. That's NYSEG. They're the delivery portion of our utilities. They're the trucks that come up and put the lines in and all that stuff. What I'm saying as far as what has changed is the energy that flows through those pipes and across those wires has changed. There's been deregulation, and therefore you can, as a good consumer, go out and find a company that will furnish that electricity or furnish that the natural gas to your house, and that is the supply provider. So we have a delivery and a supply. And if you look at your NYSEG bills, if those of you are anal like me and look at those sorts of things, you'll see there's two portions to your bill. There's a delivery charge and there is a supply charge. The delivery charge is what it costs to have the pipes and the wires and get them fixed and put in new poles and all that stuff. That's not going to change. That provider is the set provider in your community. And there's different providers throughout different areas of the state of New York. But you can look at, and I would encourage you to look at, that having who the service, the supplier is for your service. And that can change. And the rates can change for people. So there is a whole host of different companies that offer a whole host of different options to you. And being a good consumer, if you investigate, you choose what is the best option for you. There are different ways to check. I just do a Google search because I keep forgetting the name of the entity. But with the New York State Public Service Commission, the escrow, they're called ESCOs, Energy Service Companies, provide what their rates are, and those are reported. I don't know how up to date they are, and I don't rely on them, but you can look them up online through the New York State Public Service Commission. You can look up, there's a link to click for electric rates, and there's a link to click for natural gas rates. And you can click, and you can see the different providers in your community, your area, and you can see what they're charging. Then what I encourage you to do, being a good consumer, is to contact those providers that you think, oh, I might like this fits for my life, I like this. And call them and say, okay, what are your rates? And get from them what their rates are. And if you agree with them, you can sign up with them. It's a very simple process, at least in my experience. It's been a really relatively simple process, to switch who your escrow is. And there are different options available. The two main options are fixed and variable rates. Variable rates are exactly what it says. It varies. Historically, although there was a period of time when we had the plummeting utility rates and actually went down through the winter time, but as a general rule, the more energy that's being used, which would be more in the winter time and colder weather with heating our homes, it tends to be that the rates are higher. And in the summer months, it tends to be lower. That's just as a general rule. So that will fluctuate, variable, it's a variable rate. And then there are fixed rates, which is a fixed rate for a set period of time. Now, your bill doesn't stay fixed. That's the thing a lot of people don't understand. They have it's a fixed rate. It's not a fixed dollar amount on your bill. Your bill will fluctuate based on how much energy you use. And that's due to the fact that your fixed rate or your variable rate is the rate that you are being charged for a particular unit of energy. So it could be a fixed rate for natural gas, it's per therm. That's what they use to calculate. For electricity, it's kilowatts per hour. And so if you have a fixed rate, it might be 5.5 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity, and it might be, I don't even know what therms go by, it might be 50 cents or something per therm. So you could have it fixed, or you could go with variable because you think, oh, rates will go down, they'll go down more than they'll go up, so rather than lock into a particular rate. Then the other aspects to it with an ESCO is you can lock in for a certain length of time. It could be several months to up to 2 years, I believe, up to 24 months. Or it could be shorter. Another component to understand is whether or not, if you lock in, are you bound by that for a period of time, to the extent that if you should change within the, I'll just use 24 months. If you should decide that you don't like the ESCO that you're using, is there a penalty associated with me switching out within those 24 months? And knowing all those factors, you can make a decision as to what provider do you want. Within the fixed and variable rates, there are other things that you might find is part of what you want to consider, such as, do I want a provider that provides me with 100% renewable energy? They derive the energy that comes into my house from only renewable sources? Do I want to do that? So there's an option there. So we have to sit down as a good consumer, make a choice. Do I want variable, fixed? Do I want 100% renewable? Do I not? Do I want some type of hybrid of that? Is there a cancellation fee if I cancel within that period of time? And then you can make a decision. The other thing that you can do, if you're really, really anal like me, is you can actually check and see how much energy you've used over the years, and you can kind of do, well, if it goes on history, my utility bill could be around roughly this much a month, and make that choice. So we have to be good consumers in making that decision, gas or electric, and who we want our providers to be. If you, for lack of a better term, don't make a choice, one will be, in essence, made for you. My experience has been that usually is a variable rate. The other thing is when whatever agreement you come to with an ESCO, if you say you sign on to a 24-month program for gas or electric at a certain rate, when that 24 months expires, you will automatically be kicked into a variable rate. And we've had complaints come into our office that said, oh, my rates went up astronomically, and how can they do this, and I'm being gouged. It turns out that they got changed to a variable rate and didn't read the letter that they got, because you get notice a month or two before your contract is up. Didn't pay attention to it, thinking maybe it was junk mail, and threw it away. And all of a sudden you got kicked into a variable rate, and depending on what time of year it is, the variable rates can be significantly higher than a fixed rate, and which can totally change the lump sum amount that you pay in your bill. So something to be mindful of. Also, the utility providers also have plans that are available that hopefully will help you spread the cost over a longer period of time to keep your bill relatively close. But it's my understanding that those get adjusted quarterly. And so if all of a sudden there was a huge, you're on a variable rate, although you have kind of a fixed payment plan, and all of a sudden the rates spike for some period of time, you may get a shock. If you have this quote-unquote fixed rate plan, you might get a shock next quarter saying, well, the rates really spiked really high. You've been at a steady payment plan. Therefore, not only do we have to recoup the money, the actual cost of what you used, we have to allot for that increase over the next quarter. And so you jump not only to recoup, but your rate, you also jump because they have to anticipate the next quarter, and all of a sudden you get this big bill that's hundreds of dollars more than what it was before, and you're up in arms. I'm not here to say that's right or wrong. What I'm saying is that us as good consumers, we have to understand what's out there, and then being a good consumer, make that choice. So understand what your needs are, understand what works best for you, and then make a wise decision when it comes to that. Another huge field that utilities have come into over the last 10 years is telephone. They used to always say that back in the Ma Bell days, is that you could have whatever telephone you wanted as long as it was black and it was rotary. Things have all changed now. You don't even get phones from the telephone company anymore. You go out and get your own phones, and there's all types of options available with phone service. There's phone now that's being offered over cable, through our cable providers, that you can bundle with other utility services. There's telephone companies that are out there that you can use to provide your telephone service. And again, it falls down to, with all of these options available, to make the best decision that you can, given your individual circumstances. It wasn't even that long ago that there was an option of, and still is, option of phone cards to make long distance calls at a lower rate. It was always 10 cents a minute or whatever, which nowadays we sit back and go, man, that was a lot of money when you think about it. At 10 cents a minute, and you'd have to abbreviate your telephone calls because you get this huge telephone bill. Now, a lot of providers, I guess in the little world that I live in, most experience, Ben, is with these universal long distance providers, where it doesn't matter where you're calling now. You just get on the phone and you call, and it's a one flat fee that you used to pay, that you pay now to get just long distance calling. Maybe it's a function of us seemingly to be more of a transient type of society, and I'll use it from my own personal experiences, that my kids don't live anywhere near us. They live in other parts of the country. It's just jobs and things and everything. And so we're calling our kids in Texas and Ohio and Vermont and all over the place. And we don't think anything of it because, one, we have this other thing called cell phones. Or we call from home and we have this unlimited plan. But I presume there are plans out there that, hey, everybody I know, or frankly care to talk to, all would live within my town. I have very little need to call long distance. So that's my personal experience. So how can I develop my telephone plan to take into that individual circumstance? I don't care about long distance. You can charge me 25 cents a minute. I don't care, because I don't call that. If that's the circumstance, then you look for a provider and say, okay, I'm only really concerned about the 607 area code. I only want to call within there. I don't want to call anywhere out of there. And so what's the deal you can give me for that? I'd be glad for you to charge me more if I make long distance calls outside of the 607 area code. So give me a plan that is less expensive for me here, which I don't care that much. Again, those options are there. We have to look at our individual circumstances and make a choice. Included in that whole mix is this cell phone thing. Well, I'll step back a second. There's also available for a landline phone in addition to the regular telephone company providers, there's these voice over internet phone systems through your cable provider that you can choose to say, well, I'll still have a landline, be like a dinosaur like me, still have a landline home phone, and call. I decided to ultimately bundle it all with my cable provider, so I have the whole shoot and match with them. And that works for me. It may not work for others. It's kind of interesting because I tried to call someplace from my home phone, which I didn't realize but it was a voice over internet protocol. And I wanted to leave a message, or I had to hit a couple of buttons for customer service, whatever. And I was told that that service, whatever it was, I don't even recall what it was not available to me because at this stage it was not available to voice over internet protocol provider. I didn't realize that. I thought that was interesting. But there's that option to bundle it through their cable provider. And there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Like if cable goes down, do your telephones go out as compared to have a separate landline? Again, choosing what we do as being a good consumer. As far as cell phones, same thing with cell phones. There's all kinds of different options available with the use of cell phones. And again, you have to choose what's best for you. There are options available out there where you can pay for a certain number of minutes. Who does that help? That helps the individual who doesn't use the cell phone much, maybe needs it for an emergency, maybe needs it when they're traveling, but doesn't otherwise. This is just a contract. They still have one of those flip phones, the one thing, but that's all they need. Talk about my parents. My parents have cell phones. Don't answer them ever, which drives me crazy. But has them in case they need them. And so theirs is little use, but have it for convenience. And if that's the case, they have a plan that they pay per minute or they pay a monthly charge, but their time accumulates and then they can start using their minutes, which is significantly less than what I pay for my cell phone and family with cell phones, which is, I have car payments that are less than my cell phone bill. And there's a whole host of other options available. But so rather than the per minute charge, you can get unlimited charge. And I'm just talking about the cell phone portion. Sometimes when I talk to my kids, it seems like when I'm having a discussion with them, that they almost would seem surprised that you can actually use a cell phone to make telephone calls with. Because we're so used to having these phones now that provide virtually all of their internet now they do on their phone. They're not near a computer. They don't need to be. They have their phone, which is pretty much a computer. And that's a whole other aspect of data. So there can be if you have a smartphone or a phone that provides data, which apparently they all do nowadays, you have data options. And again, based on your personal use. We finally, anecdotally, had to go with the unlimited data plan. Because I have one family member whose name I will not reveal, who seemed to mess up our plan every month. Because I used to have a plan that had a certain amount of data. We'd use, as a family, we could use a certain amount of data. We had one rogue family member who gobbled up all of the time, all of the data. And the rest of us were stuck. And then if you went over the allotted data, it was significantly more expensive. To where I finally said, to heck with it. We're all going on unlimited data. There was a huge cheer in my household when we did that. But so did the cell phone bill go crazy. It's a large cell phone bill. Again, that is what works for us, but for others it may not. And we have to sit down and choose. And the important thing about being a good consumer, don't let a salesperson talk you into what you need. You have to decide what you need, and then you make the decisions based on that. So choosing a cell phone or internet wireless data provider is something that we as good consumers need to investigate and make that decision. Another utility is cable and television. What's available out there? There's a whole host of things, and it's getting greater by the day, it seems like. We've got the classic cable from Spectrum, which serves this area, Comcast, is it Comcast? Charter Communications. That provides the cable based on the franchise in your municipality. The municipalities municipalities get money paid back to them and franchise fees and allow this provider to come in. But there are other options. There are satellite providers that can provide satellite television. Put the dish on your house and you get service that way. There's a couple of different providers with that. Or what is now happening is that people are now using Wi-Fi to provide television to there are a whole host of providers that provide these television shows over the internet. You know, the big ones, one of the FANG groups, Facebook, Amazon. One of them is Netflix. And Netflix is one of the big providers they have original programming, movies and all that stuff. There's other services, many of whom are associated with big communication, video communication entities. There's Hulu, there's Sling, there's all kinds of things out there that people should investigate, where now all you really need is a internet service within your house, and you can sign on for all these other types of options. As I'm reading news on a daily basis, there seems to be more and more coming as we know it. Walt Disney apparently is going to start their own channel, where it's going to have all kinds of options. And Time Warner now is Warner Broadcasting or whatever. They're providing. Everybody's starting to investigate these options now that they can provide that. So I think if we're talking about this 5 years from now, I think the landscape's going to be completely different. It just working that way. Again, we have to be good consumers. If our whole existence in television watching is the old television shows, we harken back to those days, and we had Gunsmoke and the Beverly Hillbillies or whoever it is, and that's all we care about. There might be a service available out there that you can get those types of shows and old movies that you can get that's significantly less expensive than other options that are there. And if you just investigate, you might be able to work what's best for you. I'll give you an example in my circumstance. I actually, this was a few years ago, put in an office in my house. I have an office there. And I said, of course, I refer to it as my office, but some would call it a man cave. And I want a television in there. But it was a former bedroom. And we didn't have a television in there. So I actually called, and it was back at that time, it was Time Warner, it was a few years ago. And I asked them, how much is it going to cost me to run a line into this room so that I could have it? And she said, oh, you don't have to do that. Which shocked me. I said, well, how can I do this? Well, come to find out, if I had a smart TV, most TVs nowadays are smart TVs. I didn't have a smart TV. But there are ways to make your TV that you had smart by getting one of these Wi-Fi receivers. There's a Fire Stick through Amazon, and you can get Roku is one. There's another one called Apple TV. And I'm not going to go into the intricacies of this, but be a good consumer. Choose your option wisely. Just as a particular example, if you get Apple TV, which is just a box that receives an internet signal that has apps, and you can have apps for different television stations, HGTV and ESPN and Major League Baseball and CNBC. They all have these different apps. Depending on which option you buy, Apple TV, Roku, or whatever, may only allow certain apps to go on that device. So again, be a good consumer, investigate your options, and choose. And I found out that one particular type of unit, I couldn't get the Spectrum app, or at that time, Time Warner app. But on another one, I could. And what ended up happening was that all I had to do was plug this thing into my television, and I would go to the television, I went to the Spectrum app, and I would click on it, and I found out, the person told me, the customer service rep told me, if you're within your Wi-Fi that is part of my bundled bill, I had television, internet, cable, and telephone on my bill, as long as it was in the Wi-Fi area that serviced my bill, if I clicked on the Spectrum app, although it was internet-based, I was somehow related, and it knew I was in my Wi-Fi area, and it would give me every channel on that app that I paid for on my cable. If I was in my neighbor's Wi-Fi, I couldn't get all the channels that I subscribed to with my. But if I was, so anywhere I had one of these devices hooked to a television, I could get wireless reception of my cable anywhere. So I didn't have to run lines. I could just use this thing. And it turns out, because there's a rental fee associated with every cable box that you have, and I had multiple, I turned them in. I only have one. And I turned them in, and then throughout the rest of my house, my son had a television in his room. We have a workout room. I had an office. We have a bedroom. It's all over the place. I only need one cable box, and I had access throughout. So I investigated the options. So I encourage people to do the same thing. What works best for you? Do you not even need cable television? It depends on your circumstances. Maybe you just want to watch old movies, and you can get that streamed to you through some streaming service. It could be Netflix. It could be one of the other hundreds of providers. You can make the choice that works best for you, and it may prove out that you can reduce your utility bill significantly depending on what your choice is. So it falls back to that adage, be a good consumer. Although, as we're taping this, we're in the middle of summer, we still have to think about what's going to happen in the future, and that includes winter will be coming sooner for many of us than we would like. But we have to, another thing that we have to consider is propane and fuel oil. I lump that into the utility section. Let me give some words of advice. There are, first of all, no controls on pricing. It's just not our nature. There's no price controls on those items. So fuel and propane will fluctuate, and it will depend on supply and demand, what's available out there. Understand, because there are no price controls, prices fluctuate widely between fuel and propane providers. There can be a significant difference in what one provider charges versus what another provider charges, even in your community. So don't just rely on the entity. If you're concerned about price, especially, don't be reliant necessarily on saying, well, I've had this one for years, I'm just going to keep it the same. Because we get complaints in our office from people who are shocked at how much they're paying per gallon for their fuel, oil, propane. And that they then get on the phone and call another provider and find out that it's so much less per gallon. And I'm getting ripped off, and they say it's price gouging and that sort of thing. Well, it's not necessarily price gouging. We have to be good consumers and go out and investigate those options. The best time, as you're watching this now in the summer, the best time is now. Now is the time to look for those, decide what rates works best for you, and lock into your contracts now. So that when the winter hits and you didn't go ahead and do that, and what you end up paying is what we talked about earlier about gas, about natural gas and electricity, you pay a variable rate. You pay the market rate, what the market is charging now. And there are options now. If you go in, you can look and lock into a rate. And you say, well, the gas company is making millions off of me. I can explain how it works. What happens is that if you call a fuel, oil, propane company now and say, okay, I'm getting ready for the fall and the winter, I would like to find out what the rates are, and they tell you what the rate is, and I haven't looked at those, and so I'm just going to grab a number. It could be completely off base, but let's just use it for example purposes. $2.50 a gallon. Okay. It's $2.50 a gallon, locked in. We can lock you in for your standard usual usage for a winter time is 1,500 gallons. So we can charge you $2.50 a gallon for the 1,500 gallons. And you go, great. And then you lock in. What does the gas company doesn't say, okay, we've got a new customer and they're paying $2.50. We're hoping the rates will go down over the winter, and actually we'll make big bucks on this. We'll make, the energy rate's may drop to $1.50 a gallon, and we're going to make all kinds of money. That's what people think sometimes. No. They're not doing that. The legitimate ones, the ones that have been around for years and stuff, don't do that. What they do is, when you lock in, they lock in. They go to their suppliers where they get the fuel propane from, and they say, okay, we want a contract for $2.50 a gallon. It's less than that because they have overhead and stuff they can. Let's say they lock in at $2 a gallon, and they lock in. They're bound to pay $2 a gallon for the 1,500 gallons that they bought for you, that they will deliver to you. Consequently, you're locked into them as well for the $2.50 a gallon. So if prices go down, the ultimate distributor can get it for less, so be it. But you know what you're getting, you know what price you're going to pay, and your distributor, your local distributor, they're locked in. They're already locked in. They're not. Because it would be a horrible, horrible situation, and I will tell you, it did happen with fly-by-nights. They did that. We had a few years ago where the energy rates plummeted, fuel rates plummeted, and they got in the game. And people got locked in at a certain rate, and they made all kinds of money. What happened the next year? They pulled the same stunt, and prices went way up. What happened to them? They went out of business. They disappeared because they thought the rates were going to go down. They locked you in at $2.50, but it was costing them $3.50 to get the gas, the fuel, and they went out of business. So the legitimate companies you're dealing with, when you lock in, they lock in. And you get that particular. They're not making boku bucks off the fact that the difference is in price, because they'd be losing their business if they tried to pull that year in and year out, because over a period of time it's going to catch you. It's gambling, and it's going to catch you. They don't do that. So you go out, you investigate now, you lock in at a rate that you want to lock into, and then they lock in and everybody's happy. You're going to get their rate, you know what you're looking for, and you go ahead and do it. If you don't lock in, you go by the vagaries of the market. Whatever rates happen, if they spike up, the next time you have to fill up in January, you have to pay 50% more per gallon. That's what happens. That's the risk that you run, and you can choose to do that. It's our free choice to do that. But understand those options are available out there, and to make sure and decide whether or not it is in your best interest to do that sort of thing. It's not typical that people are being price gouged. It has happened, and if it is, that's where our office has jurisdiction in price gouging. In fact, our office just announced yesterday, I think it was, a case where gouging had occurred. And price gouging, an increase in price is not price gouging. It's not price gouging. In New York, we have a law. It's a price gouging law. And what that means is that a provider of essential items cannot exploit a sudden change in the market to their own benefit. It could be a sudden change due through, in a lot of instances, it's a natural disaster of some sort. Many years ago, I'd say like 20 years ago, maybe more, there was an ice storm in the North Country of New York where energy disappeared because trees were down. And what people were doing was they were running down here and going to Home Depot and buying generators for $700 and running up to the North Country and charging $2,500, and people were stuck and they were forced because of that circumstance. We also had situations where during flooding in the southern tier, where because people couldn't get out of town, highways were blocked with floods both ways, and hotel rates went up by 150, 250%, where it was exploited. What the price gouging statute is simply where someone cannot exploit the term is abnormal disruption of the market. Outside of the ordinary, abnormal. They can't exploit that for their own benefit. So they can't, although maybe prices didn't increase that much, but they tripled their prices knowing that, hey, I'm the only game in town because of the flood, because of the hurricane, because of the ice storm. So I'm going to exploit this and charge 3 times as much. Our office brought numerous cases against people who exploited those. I know myself, I personally had some hotels in the Binghamton area that we actually had settlements with. The big hurricane that hit New Jersey and Long Island, gas prices went astronomically up, but retailers exploited it and increased it even that much more. We went after them for exploiting the market. That's that circumstance. So if prices increase just because of regular market forces, things that regularly would kind of happen, we see that happen all the time with gas changes and things like that. If it's because of just a naturally occurring thing, that's just what capitalism is. That's what happens. You know, things get supply and demand. People only took basic economics in college like I did, and you had the supply curve and the demand curve and where they mix, and that the centerpiece can move up and down. That's just what happens. That's not considered to be price gouging in New York statute. The reason why I bring that up is because the area of utilities and fuel oil and those sorts of things are usually the area that I get a lot of complaints from people that claim that there's a price gouging as a result of that. But if it's not due to an abnormal disruption of the market, it doesn't fall within our statute and doesn't apply. But if someone were out there and we did have an abnormal disruption in the market, and they felt that somebody was exploiting that, they should feel free to call and contact our office and let us know what's going on out there. So I hope you were all informed about issues that come up in the utility area. Know that it's just not a simple thing anymore, that we need to put a little thought. It doesn't take a lot of time, but still put a little thought so that we can make the best decisions that we can make as a good consumer. I hope you're enlightened. Hope that gets you to think a little bit about that and make a wise decision. If anybody has any questions related to utilities, to the best extent that I can, I will answer those. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending. Those of you out in TV land, please join us. Join us the second Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. at Cornell Cooperative Extension at 615 Willow Avenue here in beautiful Ithaca. We'd be glad to have you join in the discussion, bring up things that I might not have thought about, and then we can have a good dialogue. For those of you that are here, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. It's helpful to have you here to look out at your faces. And hopefully we will see you next time. Thank you.